Okay, so I think there is a lot of talk regarding HOLEP and SULEP. So why not we discuss something about green light laser? I always feel that it is the man behind the machine rather than the machine itself. Like excellent job can be done with simple instruments by Mahesh sir and Mallikarjun sir, and after with Holmium laser with the respective faculties and SULEP by Dr. Vartak sir. So I'll just discuss briefly regarding what is my experience with green light laser, which I'm routinely doing. So green light, my disclosures are none. Green light laser, basically the mechanism is that the KTP and the LBO, that is the lithium triborate laser, they are basically anti-yak lasers, and the wavelength is reduced with the help of this crystal from 1064 to 532 by addition of this crystal, and the energy is mainly absorbed by the hemoglobin and not by water. This results in immediate removal of the prostate. So like in this corona era where we are thinking that just the virus vaporizes, why not the prostate? So this is regarding the green light. Depth of penetration, everybody is aware, is zero point 0.8 mm, which is more than that of the thulium and holmium. It is a class 4 laser, and so the protection of skin and eye is must. The fiber has been changed from the last 120 watt to the recent 180 watts, where we have a metallic cap and a cooling system inbuilt. So it is called a Moxie liquid cool fiber. The machine power watt has been upgraded from 120 watts to 180 watts. The green light laser basically is helpful in terms of this machine especially is helpful in terms of safety, speed, and efficacy of vaporizing of the prostate. The fiber is quite sturdy and doesn't break down as it was the complaint in the previous machine. And there is an improved coagulation which is in pulse mode. The fiber here itself, the beam lasing beam has been increased to 50% from the previous generation, and the power is increased so that we get a faster coagulation with a more area of vaporization, that is twice the time of the previous machine and in a shorter duration of time. The inbuilt liquid cool system helps in avoiding the fiber and the metallic cap getting overheated, and there is an inbuilt system called as a fiber life system which avoids overheating of the fiber, and the system itself shuts down. The longevity thus increasing the longevity and avoiding the breakdown rate of the fiber. There is a new system inbuilt in this fiber, that is a two coagulation system which offers a pulsatile mode, a coagulation, and the and at a wider area of coagulation, thus affecting post-operative bleeding. This is the only fiber where such in-depth research has been done.
Dr. Himesh, sorry to interrupt you in between. Your sound is going a bit with the movement, actually, with the movement of the body.
Okay.
I mean, please be a little still and keep your mobile little away from the laptop, if possible.
Okay. Yeah. Is it okay now?
Yeah. Thank you for the cooperation.
Yeah. So the OT requirements are I normally do my procedure on the spinal anesthesia. I normally routinely use 24 French continuous flow cystoscope provided with the machine and with a laser bridge inside. However, this is compatible with our normal Storz or Wolf resectoscope also with a laser bridge inside. The special requirement is of a camera filter and the few normal saline bags. This is the armamentarium what we normally have in our OT. This is the Golden Rim a camera filter, which is absolute necessary. And this is the arthroscopic tubing set. The purpose of this having this container is to squeeze out the bubble which is generated during vaporization of the prostate. And the final thing is the goggles, which is very much important before lasing the prostate. So I always compare using green light laser in a prostate is like peeling the onion from inside, layer by layer. So few fundamentals which we should follow to have good results is that the fiber should not touch the tissue. It should be at least 2 to 3 mm away from the tissue. There should not be too much sweeping speed. It should be controlled movement, that is 15 to 20 degrees. That's it. The sweeping arc should be less than 30 degree always, and the power setting always start with a low power so that you don't encounter too much mucosal bleeding in the initial phases. Another important point in avoiding complication is that the bladder should always be kept distended so that you don't accidentally perforate the bladder. And it also acts as a tamponade by increasing the pressure within the system. The scope handling, that is the handling of the scope and the fiber, has to be simultaneous. Fiber has to be rotated, the scope has to be moved inside out and rotated accordingly with the non-dominant hand. There are multiple approaches while using a green light laser. There are like a standard photoselective vaporization technique, which was promoted by Bechmann. There is an anatomic PVP technique, which is promoted by Dr. Fernando. There is a vaporesection technique and vapoenucleation technique. So a lot of things have been evolving regarding use of green light technique for vaporization of the prostate. We will be mainly discussing what the technique which I follow the most, that is the anatomic vaporization technique. So before we start the case, the landmarks has to be identified, that is the ureteric orifice, if there is a presence of median lobe, and where is the varu. So this landmark has always be kept in mind before we start the procedure. These are some important key features that we should keep in mind while starting the procedure, like unless you heard the ready sound from the machine, you should not fire the laser. The power of the laser should be initially at 80 watts, that is the minimum. Always when you fire the laser, you see whether you are generating a scuba-like bubble, because a champagne-like bubbles doesn't provide you efficient evaporation. The first step always is to establish the continuous flow. So when there are kissing lobes or where is a large median lobe, you have to channel out the prostate first so that the inflow and outflow is maintained and the vision is absolutely clear. And always start by incising between 5 and 7 o'clock so that you get a good channel and you can have a hemostasis from the vessels supplying the prostate at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock. Scuba-like bubbles are the most important thing which you should be aiming for. Like I already told you that median lobe needs to be treated first. Now the technique for dealing with median lobe is quite different. You have to approach the median lobe from the side, that is from 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and rotate the scope and start vaporizing from the side of the prostate rather than going from the top of the median lobe and aiming your beam downwards. You can subsequently increase the power depending on the required speed of vaporization. This is the important step regarding creating what for the water channel. You can see the water channel, the initial power setting should be between somewhere around 80 to 90, and subsequently you can increase to 120 volts. Important is to control the mucosal bleed. You start from the area near the bladder neck and come towards the apex, and subsequently once this procedure are followed, a smooth cavity can be noticed. And if there are kissing lateral lobes, while creating a channel, you can take the part of the lateral lobes also and create a proper channel. It is very important to be systematic when you are doing a green light approach. Finally, once the median lobe, the lateral lobes are dealt with, then you tackle the anterior tissue. The anterior tissue is nothing but the roof of the prostate, and you need to rotate your scope to 180 degrees, and the fibers should be facing upwards. Before you fire, the fiber should be visible, and there are markings on the fiber which I'll let you know. And you can do as the prostate is very thin, so use a minimum current when you are doing the anterior tissue. Similar goes with the apical tissue. The power should be reduced to somewhere around 80 to 100 watts, and you have to work around the varu. Don't go beyond the varu. That is the important thing to avoid any kind of stress incontinence. So after the procedure is over, the goal is that the prostatic fossa should be open like a TURP defect. At least 70 to 80% of the volume should be eliminated. The landmark should be visible, that is the UOs, the varu should be intact. Arterial bleeding should be treated. And normally in my practice, now I have shifted to a two-way catheter, that is a 22 French catheter, unless I encounter some heavy bleeding where I need to put a three-way catheter. So I'll just move on to the video. So this is the normal check scopy. We do it. This is a grade 2 prostate, and the PSA is normal. The only disadvantage with this photoselective vaporization is that you don't get any histology for biopsy. So once we have done the PSA, we do the trust and we confirm that there is no malignancy. We proceed with this thing. So initial check scopy shows a trabeculated bladder with bilateral leos located, and then subsequently we start with the technique. So the fiber is inside. Now the red dot of the fiber suggests that the beam is aiming towards the cystoscope telescope. So normally the tendency is to always see the blue part of the fiber rather than showing the red part of the fiber. Here, since the bladder neck is not visible, we are creating a circular channel, which I spoke to, which is the essential step to create a good inflow and outflow from the for the system. You can see this big bubble generating. These are the scuba bubbles, and this helps in vaporizing of the prostate and creating a good channel. So subsequently, you can see that the channel is nicely opening up. The inside theater atmosphere is something which is visible in the right-hand corner, where when we are firing, there is a lot of green light emission. So that is why it's very important to wear the goggles, because any crack in the laser fiber might damage your eyes. So once the channel is created, now you can see we try to create this circular channel, and you can see the blue part and the red part, which are the landmarks for this fiber. The ideal teaching is that the blue mark should always be visible, but when you are creating a channel, you need to rotate your fiber upside down. You can take the roof, you can take the side, and you can take the floor. So this is how a good channel is created, which is the initial step. You can notice that there is hardly any bleeding occurring from the evaporated tissue. We again check the landmark. This is the Veru, and this is now the channel opening up. So now you can see my fiber has changed, and now the blue part is visible. So this is the correct technique to start doing the evaporation of the prostate. The aiming beam should always be directed to the floor, and the blue part should always be visible. So this is how we start creating a channel, and then subsequently here in this case we don't have a median lobe, so we can directly start lasing the floor of the prostate, and which is formed by the predominantly by the lateral lobes. So this is the bladder neck. Normally I tend to take the bladder neck at last with low power setting. So this is the step where actually we can increase the power to 180 watts, because here no important landmark is there, and you can just lace your way through the prostatic adenoma to reach up to the capsule. You can appreciate that how the foci is opening very symmetrically. See, it all depends on how systemic you are. If you are doing absolutely properly, then there is a uniform fossa. Don't try to create too many bumps and holes at one time. You be in a systematic plane. Start from just below the bladder neck, then come into mid part, and then come near the apex. Normally, what I have seen is, like for most of our prostate laser technique, we start with the left lobe first. But in green light, we normally start with the, for a right-handed surgeon, we start with the right lobe first, because it is very easy to start vaporizing the right lobe with your movement of your fingers. Another thing we need to appreciate here is that we are not putting any traction or any mechanical force on the prostatic adenoma. We can just stay inside the prostate like you are doing a normal cystoscopy, and just rotating your scope and let the laser do the job. So once the right lobe is done, we now move on to the left lobe. Here also the steps remain very simple. Start just below the bladder neck, come to the mid part, and then come up to the apex. So this symmetry, if it is maintained, then the cavity generated is uniform. See, this is very important, because if the patient lands up in some complications intraoperatively, where we have to abandon the procedure, being systematic and completing these steps are very helpful. So even if we abandon the procedure till the patient is expected to have a reasonable flow because the channel is already created. So once we have reached the bladder neck fibers, where you can see here, these are the bladder neck fibers, which you can clearly see. Then and you can inspect the UOs also. Then I have some modifications. We normally tend to create 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock incisions, like what you normally do as an initial step in any HOLEP or TULEP. And then we come up to the Veru. From the Veru, so this is just proximal to the Veru. Here you can just find out the plane of the capsule, because this is the thinnest area where you can easily find the plane of the capsule. So once you have found out the plane, now whatever the tissue is remaining above the Veru, above this capsule, that is all the adenoma. So you can see now the complaint of having some residue left behind is not there, because now we are already at the capsule. And in this step, this side firing laser helps a lot, because now you can see the adenoma is lifted. So there is mild traction only at this level, just to create a plane, so that now you can start lasing the adenoma. Simultaneously, you can do a coagulation, that is a field coagulation with the 30-watt setting. And you can start firing the adenoma. So this will help us to separate the lateral lobes adenoma near the floor area. And whatever the residual adenoma is there, that can be tackled with this laser. Here I am finding that the stones are there, that is the corpora amylacea. So I just come close to the adenoma and then again start firing. So this will help me to separate the adenoma from the floor that is formed by predominantly the lateral lobe, because this patient hardly had any median lobe. So this is a very safe thing, because you don't have the chance of perforating the capsule, because this is a side firing laser. So the 30-degree angulation of this the firing beam helps us in this test, so that you can separate the adenoma from the capsule and have a more complete vaporization. So now it's all firing and removing the prostatic adenoma. Here you can increase your speed and go. You can see now easily that how the lateral lobes have separated from the floor also. And you can now use 180 watts and completely vaporize the prostate. The important thing is you can appreciate the scuba bubbles which are happening while firing. This is very important. So once the foci is done, then you come near the apex zone, and then you reduce your firing your power. And now you can appreciate that the foci has already developed. These are some overhanging flaps from the apex, which you can take down with a low power setting. You can also appreciate the hemostasis which is achieved with this technique is phenomenal. And this is the end of the, So this is the end appearance. The nice TURP defects can be visible, and all these flakes will be coming out through the normal 22-phase two-way catheter. So there is a wide range of variations of laser fire, what we can use. The time is approximately 35 minutes for such kind of prostate, and patient goes home after 24 hours. So safety and efficacy is already established for this laser in terms of Qmax and all the other parameters. Superiority to TURP is also there in terms of catheterization time. That is, my patients normally have a single day catheter. Length of hospital stay is, like I told you, 24 hours. And time to normal routine is also quite nice, because they don't encounter any post-operative bleeding. Also, the re-intervention rate with this technique has reduced tremendously, and patients, like in the Goalis study, it has been shown that the complication-free rates are there, which is much better than TURP at 2 years. Tolerability and safety is already documented with this technique, and there is sufficient evidence now that over 5 years' time, there are no significant complications, and all the parameters are maintained with the help of this laser. Also, the best laser, this is recommended to be one of the good lasers when the patient are on anticoagulation and antiplatelet. I have done few patients who are on warfarin and ecosprin. However, when they are on some advanced anticoagulation we recommend to stop is at least 24 hours and do a bridging therapy for them. Goalit study is already there in the literature, and it is a multicentric randomized trial which significantly shows that it is a non-inferior to TURP. Recently, EUA guidelines also recommend that 180 watts has a long-term, has a short-term and mid-term beneficial outcomes when compared to TURP, and the retreatment delays are also as same as compared to TURP rates. Also, the recommendation is strong for moderate to severe LUTS in a prostate. Previously, it was recommended for a prostate around 80 grams, but now up to 100 grams also we are taking it with this technology. There are five.
Dr. Ashlesh, sorry to interrupt you. Can we please move a little faster?
Yeah. So I'm done already. So 5 years data is there, which shows that this is a sustainable technology, and more and more data will be emerging from the few multi-centric studies going on across the world. So now this was the disadvantages which were given before. Since all this evidence is emerging up, we are now moving into the orange zone rather than in the red zone. And this some new addition in the technique has also improved the amount of the prostate which is resected. The tissue which was not available can also be retrieved with the help of vapor resection and vapor inoculation technique. And the most important thing is the cost. Now, all the insurance companies in 2020 have approved for green light laser, and so cost should not also be a major issue in the coming years. So the important thing is it should be a systematic approach, and all the fundamentals should be followed for a successful green light laser.